The Galactic Empire had stood unchallenged for 7 millennia, its rule absolute, its borders stretching across countless star systems. Its fleets were vast, its technology unmatched, and its will unyielding. For 7,000 years, peace, or rather the Empire's enforced stability, had reigned. But peace, as it turned out, was a fragile thing, easily shattered by the ambitions of those who grew restless under its weight. And so, when the Empire's High Council convened in the Grand Hall of the Celestial Spire, their announcement sent shockwaves rippling through the galaxy. War, not against a rival empire or a rebellious colony, but against a species many had dismissed as insignificant, humanity. The news spread like wildfire. On the fringe worlds, where humanity had carved out a modest existence, the reaction was one of disbelief. Humans were not warriors. They were not conquerors. They were traders, explorers, and occasionally troublemakers, but a threat to the Galactic Empire. The idea was laughable, yet the Empire's declaration was no joke. Their reasons, delivered in a cold, mechanical broadcast, cited humanity's unchecked technological advancement and disruptive influence as existential threats to galactic order. The message was clear. Humanity would be eradicated, its worlds reduced to ash, its name erased from history. In the heart of the Empire's capital, a woman sat in a dimly lit room, her fingers steepled beneath her chin as she watched the broadcast. Her name was Alara Voss, and she was humanity's foremost diplomat. Her reputation preceded her, sharp-tongued, quick-witted, and unflappable in the face of danger. She had brokered peace treaties between warring factions, negotiated trade agreements with hostile species, and once, famously, talked a pirate fleet into surrendering without a single shot fired. But this was different. This was not a skirmish or a dispute. This was annihilation. Alara leaned back in her chair, her lips curling into a faint smile. Then, to the astonishment of her aides, she laughed. It was not a nervous laugh or a bitter one, but a genuine, full-throated laugh that echoed through the room. "They've made a mistake," she said, her voice calm but laced with amusement. "A big one." Her aides exchanged uneasy glances. "Ambassador," one ventured, "the Empire's fleet is already mobilizing. They outnumber us 1,000 to 1. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. How can you laugh at this?" Alara's smile widened. "Because they've underestimated us. They see us as weak, as insignificant. But they don't understand what makes us dangerous. They don't understand humanity." She stood, her movements deliberate, and crossed to the window. Outside, the city sprawled in all its glittering, alien grandeur. Towers of crystal and steel pierced the sky, their surfaces alive with shifting patterns of light. Ships of every size and design flitted through the air, their engines humming like a symphony of progress. It was a city built to inspire awe, to remind all who beheld it of the Empire's power. But Alara saw something else. She saw cracks, fissures in the facade of invincibility, and she knew how to exploit them. "Call the council," she said, turning back to her aides. "Tell them I request an audience, and make sure the entire galaxy is watching." The High Council convened in the Grand Hall of the Celestial Spire, their towering forms arrayed in a semicircle around the central dais. Each member was a paragon of their species, their features sharp and regal, their eyes cold and calculating. They were the architects of the Empire's dominion, the keepers of its legacy. And they were not accustomed to being challenged. Alara entered the hall with her head held high, her steps measured and confident. She was a striking figure, her dark hair pulled into a sleek braid, her tailored suit a stark contrast to the flowing robes and ornate armor of the council members. She stopped at the center of the dais and met their gazes one by one, her expression unreadable. "Ambassador Voss," said the council speaker, a towering figure with skin like polished obsidian, "you requested this audience. Speak, if you have something to say." Alara inclined her head. "Thank you for granting me this opportunity. I come before you not to beg for mercy or to plead for peace. I come to ask you a simple question. Why?" The council members exchanged glances. Why what? The speaker asked, his voice tinged with impatience. Why declare war on humanity? Alara replied, what have we done to threaten you? We are a young species, barely a blip on the galactic stage. Our technology is primitive compared to yours. Our military is non-existent. So why waste your resources on us? The speaker's lips curled into a sneer. Your species is a cancer, Ambassador. You spread chaos wherever you go. You challenge the natural order. You must be eradicated before you infect the rest of the galaxy. Alara raised an eyebrow. Chaos? Is that what you call it? We call it progress, innovation, freedom. But I suppose those concepts are foreign to you. The speaker's eyes narrowed. Do not presume to lecture us, human. Your insolence only proves our point. Alara smiled. And your arrogance proves mine. You see us as weak, as insignificant. But you're wrong. Humanity's strength doesn't lie in our weapons or our technology. It lies in our resilience, our adaptability, our ability to unite others under a common cause. And that, counselors, is something you can never destroy. The hall fell silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. For a moment, it seemed as though the council might reconsider. But then the speaker leaned forward, his voice dripping with disdain. Your words are meaningless, Ambassador. The Empire's decision is final. Humanity will be eradicated, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. Alara's smile didn't waver. We'll see about that. As she left the hall, Alara's mind was already racing. She had planted the seeds of doubt, but that was only the first step. The Empire's war machine was vast, but it was not invincible. It had weaknesses, gaps in its armor, cracks in its foundation. And Alara knew how to exploit them. She returned to her quarters and began to work, her fingers flying across the holographic interface as she drafted messages, issued orders, and set plans into motion. She reached out to allies old and new, calling in favors and forging alliances. She tapped into the Empire's own networks, using their arrogance against them. And all the while, she kept one thought at the forefront of her mind. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. By the time she was done, the first rays of dawn were creeping over the horizon. Alara stood at the window once more, her reflection staring back at her from the glass. She looked tired but determined, her eyes burning with a fierce resolve. The Empire had declared war, but they had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and they had underestimated her. As the sun rose, casting its golden light across the city, Alara allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. The game was far from over, but she had made her opening move. And she had no intention of losing. The Empire's fleets descended upon humanity's fringe worlds like a storm, their ships blotting out the stars as they rained fire from the heavens. Entire colonies were reduced to smoldering ruins, their populations scattered or obliterated. The galaxy watched in stunned silence, unable to comprehend the sheer scale of the destruction. The Empire's message was clear. Resistance was futile. Humanity would be crushed, its name erased from the annals of history. But amidst the chaos, a spark of defiance flickered. On the outer rim of the galaxy, far from the Empire's reach, a small group of humans gathered in secret. They were not soldiers or politicians, but engineers, scientists, and dreamers. And they had a plan. Alara Voss stood at the center of the group, her presence commanding yet calm. She had called them here, to this hidden facility buried deep within an asteroid, to unveil her vision. The room was filled with holographic displays, each one showing a different aspect of the Empire's war machine. Alara gestured to the images, her voice steady but laced with urgency. The Empire believes they can destroy us, she said. They believe we are weak, that we have no way to fight back. But they are wrong. We may not have their numbers or their technology, but we have something they do not, ingenuity. And we are going to use it. She activated a new hologram, this one showing a sleek, angular ship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. This, she said, is the Eclipse. It's not a warship. It's not a weapon. It's a message. A message that humanity will not be silenced. The group leaned in, their eyes wide with awe and disbelief. The eclipse was a marvel of engineering, its design a perfect blend of form and function. But it was more than just a ship. It was a symbol, a beacon of hope. The eclipse is equipped with a new type of drive, Alara continued. One that allows it to travel faster and farther than any ship in the Empire's fleet. But its true power lies in its ability to disrupt the Empire's communications and surveillance networks. With it, we can strike at the heart of their empire without them ever seeing us coming. One of the engineers, a young woman with fiery red hair, raised her hand. But how? The Empire's networks are impenetrable. Their encryption is unbreakable. Alara smiled. Not anymore. Thanks to the work of our team, we've developed a new algorithm that can bypass their defenses. It's not perfect, and it won't last forever, but it will give us the window we need. The room buzzed with excitement, the weight of their task settling over them like a mantle. They knew the risks, they knew the odds, but they also knew that this was their only chance. If they failed, humanity would be lost. The eclipse launched under the cover of darkness, its sleek hull gliding silently through the void. Alara stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the stars. She had handpicked the crew herself, each one a master of their craft. They were a diverse group, united not by their backgrounds but by their determination. They knew the stakes and they were ready. As the ship approached the Empire's border, the tension on the bridge was palpable. The Empire's patrols were everywhere, their sensors scanning for any sign of intrusion. But the Eclipse was no ordinary ship. Its advanced cloaking technology rendered it invisible to the Empire's scanners, allowing it to slip through their defenses undetected. Alara turned to her communications officer, a young man with a nervous energy that belied his skill. "Open a channel to the Empire's central network," she said. "It's time to send our message." The officer nodded, his fingers flying across the console. Moments later, the holographic display flickered to life, showing the Empire's central communications hub. It was a massive structure, its surface alive with blinking lights and swirling data streams. Alara took a deep breath and began to speak. "People of the galaxy," she said, her voice calm but resonant. "My name is Alara Voss, and I speak to you as a representative of humanity. The Empire has declared war on us, claiming that we are a threat to their so-called peace. But the truth is, the only threat we pose is to their control. We are not conquerors. We are not destroyers. We are builders, dreamers, and we will not be silenced." The message spread like wildfire, bypassing the Empire's sensors and reaching every corner of the galaxy. On distant worlds, alien species listened in stunned silence as Alara's words echoed through their cities and homes. For the first time, they saw humanity not as a weak and insignificant species, but as a beacon of hope, a symbol of resistance. The Empire's response was swift and brutal. Their fleets descended upon the Eclipse, their weapons blazing. But the ship was faster, more agile than anything they had ever encountered. It danced through their formations, its weapons striking with pinpoint accuracy. The Empire's ships fell one by one, their crews stunned by the sheer audacity of the attack. Alara watched from the bridge, her expression unreadable. She knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would not be so easily defeated. But she also knew that they had struck a blow, not just against the Empire's forces, but against their morale. They had shown the galaxy that the Empire was not invincible, that they could be challenged. As the Eclipse slipped away into the void, Alara allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. The game was far from over, but they had made their move, and the galaxy would never be the same. Back on the asteroid, the mood was jubilant. The Eclipse had returned, its crew hailed as heroes. But Alara knew better. This was not a victory. It was a beginning. The Empire would regroup, and they would come back stronger. But for now, humanity had hope, and that was enough. As she stood alone in the quiet of her quarters, Alara allowed herself a moment of reflection. She thought of the lives lost, the worlds destroyed. She thought of the battles yet to come. And she thought of the galaxy watching and waiting. They had taken the first step, but the road ahead was long and fraught with danger. But Elara was not afraid. She had seen the spark of defiance in the eyes of her people. She had felt the weight of their determination, and she knew that as long as that spark burned, humanity would endure. The Empire had declared war, but they had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and they had underestimated her. As the stars twinkled in the distance, Elara allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. The game was far from over, but they had made their move, and the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy was ablaze with rebellion. Elara's broadcast had ignited a fire that spread faster than the Empire could contain. From the farthest reaches of the Outer Rim to the heart of the Empire's dominion, species long oppressed by the Empire's iron grip began to rise. They had heard Elara's words, felt the defiance in her voice, and seen the cracks in the Empire's armor. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy dared to hope. But hope was a fragile thing, and the Empire was determined to snuff it out. Their fleets, vast and relentless, swept through rebellious systems, leaving devastation in their wake. Entire worlds were reduced to ash, their populations slaughtered or enslaved. The Empire's message was clear. Defiance would be met with annihilation. Yet, for every world they crushed, two more rose in defiance. The spark Elara had ignited was becoming an inferno. On the bridge of the eclipse, Elara watched the reports pour in, her expression grim but resolute. The ship had become a symbol of resistance, its sleek silhouette a beacon of hope for those who dared to dream of freedom. But Elara knew that symbols alone could not win a war. They needed a plan, a way to strike at the Empire's heart and shatter its grip on the galaxy. She turned to her crew, their faces etched with determination. "We've shown the galaxy that the Empire can be challenged," she said. "But now we need to show them that it can be defeated. And to do that, we need to hit them where it hurts." Her second-in-command, a grizzled veteran named Kale, stepped forward. "You're talking about the Celestial Spire," he said, his voice low. "The Empire's seat of power. If we can take it down, we can cripple their command structure." Elara nodded. "Exactly. But the Spire is the most heavily fortified structure in the galaxy. Its defenses are impenetrable, and its location is a closely guarded secret. We'll need to find a way inside." The room fell silent as the weight of her words settled over them. The Celestial Spire was not just a fortress. It was a symbol of the Empire's invincibility. To breach its walls would be to strike a blow that would echo across the stars. But it was a suicide mission, and they all knew it. Kale broke the silence. "We'll need a distraction. Something big enough to draw their attention away from the spire." Elara's lips curled into a faint smile. "I have just the thing." The plan was audacious even by Elara's standards. Using the Eclipse's advanced cloaking technology, they would infiltrate the Empire's central shipyard, a massive orbital facility that produced the bulk of their fleet. Once inside, they would plant a series of explosive charges designed to cripple the facility and draw the Empire's forces away from the spire. It was a risky move, but it was their only chance. The infiltration went smoothly, the Eclipse slipping past the Empire's defenses with ease. But as they approached the shipyard, Elara felt a pang of unease. Something was off. The facility was too quiet, its defenses too lax. It was as if they were walking into a trap. Her suspicions were confirmed when the Eclipse's sensors detected a massive energy signature emanating from the shipyard's core. "It's a trap," Kale said, his voice tight with tension. "They knew we were coming." Elara's mind raced. If they aborted the mission, they would lose their only chance to strike at the spire. But if they pressed on, they risked walking into a slaughter. She made her decision in an instant. "We proceed," she said. "But we do it smart. Kale, take a team and plant the charges. I'll handle the distraction." Kale nodded, his expression grim. "Be careful." As Kale and his team moved out, Elara made her way to the shipyard's control center. The facility was eerily quiet, the only sound the hum of machinery and the distant echo of footsteps. She reached the control center without incident, but as she stepped inside, she found herself face to face with the Empire's most feared enforcer. General Draven. Draven was a towering figure, his armor gleaming in the dim light. His eyes, cold and calculating, locked onto Alara with a predatory gleam. "Ambassador Voss," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "I've been looking forward to this." Alara's heart pounded, but she forced herself to remain calm. "General Draven," she replied, her voice steady. "I'm flattered, but I'm afraid I don't have time for pleasantries." Draven's lips curled into a sneer. "You're brave, I'll give you that, but bravery won't save you now." He lunged, his movements swift and precise. Alara barely had time to react, dodging his strike and countering with a blow of her own. The fight was brutal and fast, each move calculated and deadly. Alara was outmatched, but she fought with everything she had, her mind racing as she searched for a way out. Then she saw it, a control panel just out of reach. If she could get to it, she could trigger the shipyard's self-destruct sequence. It was a desperate move, but it was her only chance. With a burst of speed, she darted past Draven and slammed her hand onto the panel. The shipyard's alarms blared, the facility shaking as the self-destruct sequence activated. Draven's eyes widened in shock, but before he could react, Alara delivered a final, devastating blow, sending him crashing to the ground. She didn't wait to see if he got up. She turned and ran, her heart pounding as she made her way back to the Eclipse. The shipyard was coming apart around her, the walls buckling under the strain of the explosions. She reached the ship just as the final charge detonated, the force of the blast sending the Eclipse hurtling into space. The explosion lit up the sky, a brilliant flash of light that could be seen from across the galaxy. The Empire's central shipyard was gone, reduced to a cloud of debris. But the victory came at a cost. The Eclipse was badly damaged, its systems failing as it limped back to the asteroid base. Alara stood on the bridge, her body bruised and battered but her spirit unbroken. They had struck a blow against the Empire, but the war was far from over. The celestial spire still stood, a symbol of the Empire's dominance. And Alara knew that as long as it did, the galaxy would never be free. But for now they had hope, and that was enough. As the Eclipse docked at the asteroid base, Alara allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The road ahead was long and fraught with danger, but she knew that as long as she had her crew, her people, and her determination, they would find a way to win. The Empire had declared war, but they had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and they had underestimated her. As the stars twinkled in the distance, Alara allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. The game was far from over, but they had made their move, and the galaxy would never be the same.